watching NotesIn9.
Hello, and welcome to NotesIn9. I'm David Leedy. Episode 184, Getting Started with XPages and Bluemix, Part 1. Bluemix, it's like the bartender for the thirsty developer. Okay, just about a little bit about Bluemix. We have talked about in the show. If you want, check out episode 171. Well, Marky Roden did this great demo on IBM Bluemix text-to-speech, and of course their website at Bluemix.net. And I don't know a lot about Bluemix yet. I mean, I know the concepts. I'm not quite sure where there's the greatest fit for me. I want to use it, but I'm just unsure because there is free plans, but you can go above those free plans. So I don't have a great feel yet for, well, what can you do to stay under and stay in that free range application-wise. But IBM did come out with something kind of interesting just a couple days ago, really. They announced this Developer Works Premium. And for a fee, and I don't have it up here because you might be in different countries and all that stuff, but you get a 12-month subscription to this Developer Works Premium, and among some other things, which I thought was a little fluffy, but they give you credits for Bluemix and credits for software services. So Bluemix is their platform as a service, and software is their other one, and I forget what that is. It's infrastructure as a service, but it's like SaaS, I think. And what that is, so like software is where if you want to spin up a VM, run actually your own Domino server on there quickly and I assume affordably. So they give you credits for both, and that's really important because in Bluemix, if you're using the experimental NSF storage solution, I forget what they call it, but the XPages data storage service or whatever it's called, it's not designed currently for production data. And I was on vacation and that kind of came out, and Martin Donnelly had this great reply on this Developer Works answers forum on what that really means. And I was driving to Nashville. I had my wife read it to me, and I think it almost put her to sleep. But I found it interesting. But what it means is that you can run data off this XPages data service, but they recommend, and I think the acronym was no SPI data or specialized personal information or whatever. Probably a little risky to do that. Now, of course, that data service is still experimental, and I'm kind of under the impression that caveat will remain when it's no longer experimental, but maybe it won't, and maybe they're fix it up so you can do that, because I'm not sure if I wanted to get into Bluemix and have software going at the same time. But something like this Developer Works Premium may make that a little more palatable. Because now it's one price gets you both, rather than dealing with a subscription to Bluemix and another subscription to software and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, I do recommend you check that out. I'm very impressed by this Developer Works Premium offering, and I'll be interested to see if who goes in on that and what they do with that. Now we're going to get to the demo, and in the demo, Oliver, who's a contributor today, he did say one thing I believe that was incorrect, that was corrected after the fact. This XPages runtime and Domino service is available in Europe as well as the US cloud. I believe he said during the filming of it that it was only available in the US cloud, and then he got a correction on that. So I believe that it is available wherever Bluemix is, as far as I understand Bluemix. So speaking of Oliver, Oliver is back on the show for this I think it's a 3-part series, and I couldn't be happier. He's a great guy. He's a friend of the show. He's a friend of OpenNTF. He's actually one of the directors and heavily involved there, I believe. He's an IBM champion. He's an excellent developer. He's into music, or so. He's a guy you want to have on your side. He does do some work with a product, and God, I forget the name, but I'll try to get that on another show. But again, he's a top tier guy, and what he's going to do is he's going to start this 3-part series that's really should be from starting from scratch, how to get into Bluemix and in the XPages world. So with all that being said, let's go to the demo.
Hi there, Oliver Busse here. This time I like to show you how to get started with an XPage application that is intended to be deployed on IBM Bluemix. First of all, a short agenda for this video. It shouldn't take too much time to get into it, and maybe if you followed my blog posts, you already saw what you have to do to get your XPages application up and running. I'm not interested in using that XPages demo application, the boilerplate that is provided on the XSP runtime. But I want to show you how to deploy an existing XPages application on Bluemix. Of course, first of all, you have to create an account for IBM Bluemix. Um, if you have an account, you can use the XSP runtime and the Domino NoSQL service currently for free because both is experimental. And as soon as it is experimental, you can use it for free. So just play around with it and have fun. Yes, these are the steps you have to do to deploy the application. The first part is create an XSP runtime. I opened the page already. I'm logged into my Bluemix account. I am using the Bluemix environment in Texas. The XPages and Domino services are currently available only on the Texas data center, not on the European data center in London. Therefore, I logged in to the Bluemix console, which is called console.ng.bluemix.net. NG stands for the Texas data center. If you want to use other applications, other runtimes, and other services, you can also use the European one, or if it is more convenient for you to use the European data center because it's a bit faster if you are in Europe like me, then you can also use the European one, and the URL would be console.eu-gb .bluemix.net. So wait a minute, I have to verify it. I'm not sure if I did the URL correctly. Yes, this is the URL for the European data center, EU-GB bluemix.net. Okay. Anyway, the XSP stuff is only available on the US data center. I already clicked on Add New Runtime. I chose Web Application, and as I saw right now, the XPages runtime is not in that experimental status right now. Some days or some weeks ago, you had to scroll down to the bottom of that page where you chose the runtime, and had to click on the labs area where all the experimental stuff is displayed, but not anymore. Ho ho! The XPages is not experimental. The Domino service, the NoSQL service, is experimental. So I won't continue with that because I want to show you a way how to create a XPages runtime without using the browser. What you have to do is just create the Domino NoSQL database service. It's the same entry point as with the runtime, but instead of creating a runtime, you create a new service. In this case, you have to navigate to the bottom of the service overview. And there you find the experimental, the lab link. And this is the lab area where all experimental and better stuff, the Bluemix Labs catalog, is resided. And here you can find the IBM XPages NoSQL database service. So, of course, I already set one up. It's just, I think, 2 or 3 clicks to set it up. If you have set it up you can see it in your dashboard. This is my own dashboard, and the service is available at the bottom under the section services, and from there you can configure it. If you click on it, you will be presented with a blank page with a bit text, and in the upper right corner there's a blue button and it says Launch. If you click on Launch, you will open this page. This page is the configuration page or some information about your own Domino NoSQL service. As you can see, of course, there is a Notes ID that is created automatically. The Notes ID is named, your Notes username is named from the email address that is the primary email address you are using in the Bluemix account. This email address that you see what I am using is different from that one. I have to log in to my Bluemix account, but this is the email address that is configured as my primary one. And you can see there's a password generated. You can change that, of course, later when you downloaded the ID. I recommend you to download the ID immediately after you see this page. Download it, store it somewhere, maybe in your Notes data folder from your Notes client, because you have to use it afterwards. And you have to use it always when developing, or at least when signing the database you are developing before you deploy it on Bluemix. Okay? Without a correct signature of all design elements, your application won't work on the environment, of course. You can see some technical information. This is the host name. This is a static host name. I think the IP is also static. Never saw any other IP, even when I created different and a second and a third IBM XPages NoSQL database service. So the server name is also the same. Don't get stuck on this server name. Please avoid hard-coded server names if you want to access this server from your XPages runtime. The key part is that you have to separate your XPages design from your Domino data. These will be two different databases. I strongly recommend you to create two databases even if you're developing on your local machine. My blog post tells a bit more about it. You start with an existing application. This is my case that I want to show you here. If you have an existing application, an XPages application, even with data, with some test data in it, or even with production data, the first step you do is just copy the database. Okay, the copy does not have to contain the documents, but make sure that you can access the database that contains your documents, your data. If you copy the database without documents, then this would be your design part of the application that will be deployed on Bluemix. If you copy the database with data, then I would assume that this would be the data part. So they can be exactly the same, and you all, of course, you can tweak and develop and create new pages or modify the design from the design part, of course, because this is what will be deployed on the Bluemix XSP runtime. To deploy the data part, you can use your Notes client, believe it or not. You can see the connection information from the server that is used here for the Domino NoSQL service. If you set up your Notes client and you use your Bluemix ID, you switch to the Bluemix ID, then you can open the server. It's easy as pie. Just open the notes dialog, open database, and put in this IP address. A record, a connection document, should be automatically created by the notes client. And as you can see, there's the connection document that says Slaney/Bluemix and under this IP address. So you should be able to access the Domino server that is on the Bluemix platform, and this is it. This is what it looks like. It's a bit yeah, more slim than you are used to see when you open the Domino server root. Um, First thing is you cannot access the directory. You cannot access the names NSF. You cannot access the log file. It's not authorized. With your ID, you cannot access anything on that machine except, well, there is, of course, you can open the SSO login database, the Domino's web server configuration, dom-cfg, blah, blah, blah. But it's very weird configured. It's trying to open an XPage instead of the well-known view. So you cannot really open it, but of course you can open it if you hold Control and Shift and say, okay, let's display the hidden views. And there you can see there is a setting that says, okay, here's a login page defined, a server-wide login page. It's very interesting. You can play around with it. You won't do any harm to the system. So the folder that you are able to create data is under Bluemix, your user ID, def. It's a good point. Def is the so-called, where is it? The so-called space. Can't see it here. Where's my dashboard here? It's a so-called space you are using on the Bluemix environment, and it. I think it was called organization before. Now it's just called space. Um, this is the one that you can create for yourself. You can create additional spaces or organizations, and then a new folder will be created under your Bluemix ID. So in this case, it is def. So, and this is the place where you can create your database copies. I say copies because you can't create replicas. Bummer. If you have a database that is containing a lot of data and it is maybe on-prem, on your on-prem Domino server, then it would be a nice feature to have a replica on the Bluemix one, just to replicate the data, just to update it whenever you want it. At this time, you cannot create replicas, you can only create copies. As you can see, I created 4 databases already on that machine. There is a bookmarks data and a greetings data and other databases with similar names but with different file names. I will come to that special file name that is called to-do data, NSF, a bit later. So if you are creating a copy of your existing application with the data, first create it locally, please. And then you create a copy of the database containing all the data on the Bluemix machine. Just say, okay, right click, copy, blah, 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 choose your server, where is it, and say, okay, where to store, Bluemix, your ID, def, and here we go. Okay, easy as pie. This is basic stuff. So it will take a couple of time to create that copy, depending on the size, of course. But I must say my connection to the Texas data center is not that fast as I thought it would be. So please be patient. Do this overnight, maybe, if the database is large enough. So this is the part where the Notes client comes in. We can forget that for a while. The next part is to create the runtime. As I said, you can create the runtime via the web interface. I'll give your application a name, a nice name, blah, blah, blah. But the key part is you have to note down where is it? You have to note down the service of your Domino NoSQL stuff. If you want to create an application without creating the runtime before, just by using Domino Designer, then you have to note down the name of your Domino NoSQL service. You can find out what the name is by, no, not by opening that page. This is stupid. Yeah, I like it. Sometimes navigation won't work. By clicking on the icon, but not on the full icon as I did, but on this one. No, this one. Where is it? Oh, I can open it. This is nice. Yeah, I want to note down the name of the service. Here. If you, this is at least the application part. Okay. This is the runtime page for the application itself, and there you can note down the name of the service, and this is the name of the service. Please don't note down my credentials. I will hide them. But there you can find the service. If I'm not wrong, the service name is always the same. You can also see the name of the whole service by just mouse overing over this icon. And this is the whole name, IBM XPages NoSQL Database -E0. So keep that in mind. Okay, the next step is modify your XSP part, create the data part, and now we switch to Domino Designer. The next step is get your update from the extension library. You need to download the extension library for Domino Designer. It's not about some cool new features for the runtime, but it's a cool new feature added in release 13. We already have release 14. Download this one because this will add a new feature to Domino Designer. I have my designer here open, and it will add some new preferences here in Domino Designer under Domino Designer, and it's called IBM Bluemix. Here you can set you have to set your API endpoint, the so-called API endpoint. This is the URL. You have to create your credentials here, test the connection, blah, 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 and you can set some options. I recommend you to increase the timeout here. I think the default value is 180 seconds. I increased it to 500. This is stupid, but sometimes it takes a while to deploy the application. I'm not a big fan of that deployment via this plugin because the plugin does not show anything. No messages, no log entries, nothing. It's just a simple Eclipse dialog that says, okay, I'm trying to do this now. Wait, and yeah, but I have no idea what it's doing right now. I recommend you to use the command line interface. The command line interface. I forgot to open the tab. No problem, because I have my blog post in the back and I can show you where you can grab your command line interface for the Cloud Foundry environment. It's hosted on GitHub, of course. It's https://github.com/cli/releases. And there you can download for almost every operating system the client. Just install it and don't mind, and you can use it right away. There's no path settings necessary or something. If you open a command line, the CF tool will be available. Okay, this is also documented in the Bluemix documentation. So you don't have to refer on my blog post, but I collected some useful links in this post, so maybe you can refer to it. Anyway, okay, yes. Once you downloaded the latest XLib version and set up your Bluemix environment in Domino Designer, you open your XPages design part of your application as I did. This is the Greetings app. I already created. It's hosted on the Bluemix platform already. If you activate an activation in the navigator, you can find a new toolbar button here with the Bluemix icon. There are three options available. The third one is, I don't know. This is the same as the preview one. Deploy application and configure for deployment. If you click on deploy application and haven't configured the application for deployment, then this dialog will open up. It's basically asking you for a directory on your hard disk where the files for deployment should be copied to. So in my case, it's under my profile, my home directory, documents, Git folder, and Bluemix greets. The folder is called Bluemix greets in this case. Okay. Um, just create a new folder somewhere and set it up here. And this is a next step which comes up because I set up the application for deployment already. If you haven't set up it yet, you will be presented with the finish button and say, okay, let's go. So it basically gives you a quick overview of what the application is about, or under which name it will be deployed. The wizard, when first set up the application for deployment, will ask you for the application name. Normally, it's the application name that you are using after you created the app with the Bluemix UI in your browser. But you don't have to, and this is a nice thing. So what I want to show you is something different. I just created the service, the data service, but not the runtime. I will create the runtime now. But before we can do this, we have to get an idea of how the Bluemix deployment works. If you set up the latest extension library, which I will strongly recommend you to, you can find a new entry in the application navigator. If you don't see it, just activate it in the preferences, Domino Designer, Applications Navigator, and there you should find this entry. If it's not checked, please check it. I always check everything. And this is a so-called IBM Bluemix manifest. This is the manifest file. If you set up the application as this application is set up already, you can see the difference maybe here. No, it's no difference. If the application is set up for deployment, there is a manifest.yml file that is created. You can open the file here. With the latest extension library, this form is also a bit updated, and there you can see the settings that are usually stored in that manifest file. The manifest file is a simple text file which looks like this. There's the definition of the application itself, the name, the host name. The host is a subdomain name under mybluemix.net domain. How many instances, how many memory, the timeout for the deployment. I won't encourage you to change this value because this will produce an error. And this timeout has nothing to do with the timeout I just showed you on the preferences page regarding IBM Bluemix deployment at all. So I don't know what this timeout means. It's not for the deployment from your Domino Designer. Maybe it's for an internal checking for a timeout when the container is provided on the Bluemix data center. I don't know. There is a command, leave that alone, but some information about your environment. As you can see, there are some environment variables here. The variables are described in that documentation for the Bluemix NoSQL database service. Where are they? I think at the bottom or somewhere. They are described in some documents. They are described. At least here are some methods of Java class described that access those environment variables. We won't use them for the first time. Of course, I'm using it because I want to tell Bluemix what my database name is. But these are pre-filled by default. If you enable the application for deployment, those are pre-filled. The key part is the services part. Note the name of the service that is written here. It's exactly the name I showed you when I hovered over the service icon here on my dashboard with the E0 at the end. So this is the real name for the service. The service can be also chosen via the UI. You don't have to type it. It's very comfortable. And after a few seconds, depending on your connection, you can see all the services that you already have on your Bluemix environment are displayed, and you just check your IBM XPages stuff and add it to the list. Yeah, that's all. It's a very neat and very simple UI to set up the deployment. Okay, what's behind that? I opened the folder where I set up deployment for it. And yes, this is the folder I chose in the wizard, configure for deployment. You remember this. And this folder contains a copy of my NSF. This is not the database I have in Domino Designer because it's located on Domino server local. It runs here in the VM, and the deployment process creates a copy of that, an empty copy, just the design. It also creates the manifest file. This is the file that is modified here. And there's another file that says Bluemix properties. I open that in the editor, and it says some basic information about the application. Where will it be available? The URL, the host, and the full path name, and on which space it is located. Okay. So nothing more. So if you deploy this application for the first time without having an application created prior on this dashboard, then the application, the runtime part, will be created automatically. To show you that, I will change my manifest here and just rename the application. Oops. Save it so that the name is altered. Anyway, I have to also alter the host name. I hope the host is not taken already, but I don't think so. If it is, we will see. So then I'm ready to deploy just by clicking the button and say deploy application. So let's see what's happening. And this is a part that could take some minutes. For this simple application, I experienced upload times or deployment times for about 6 minutes. So there's an error I get since several days. Maybe we have to fix something. So, but as you can see, this is not an error message I can deal with. As I said, I would strongly recommend you to use the command line. Okay, I'm using the command line. What you see is the so-called commander. This is what it's spelled, commander. It's a very nice console. It's a very nice command line. Of course, you can use the built-in Windows command line or any other command line on your operating system, the bash or something else. But I like Commander because of the Quake style. With a shortcut, you can open and close the command line very easily, and it has a large history. Okay, what I did when I opened the command line, I pre-installed the CF tool I showed you before, the Cloud Foundry tool. I set the endpoint API to the Texas environment. I logged in with my credentials, and then I changed to the folder where my XSP part resides. As you can see, this is the folder that contains the 3 files I showed you here. Okay, the next command would be cf push, and then the application name. So it's looking up the manifest file and creates the application called greets2 on my space dev. It uploads the stuff. It's not that much. It's just the NSF file which is about 5 megabytes, and the manifest file. The properties file is not uploaded. This is a special setting from Domino Designer, from the plugin. So it's not part of the deployment elements for the runtime. And of course, you can see some outputs here. It's binding the service IBM XPages NoSQL database -E0. Oh, this is the one I have. Of course, you can use different services, but you don't have to. You can use the same Domino server, the same Domino service for several XPages applications, which will all access this same server, because you can store more than one data NSF on that machine. This is what Domino is intended for. So we wait a few seconds because the space has to be created. I think this is something that the Designer plugin does not support yet. Maybe in the later release from the extension library. Hi guys in Ireland. Maybe you can implement it because it works. As you can see when using the command line tool, it works perfectly. No error message. The error message occurred so quickly right after clicking the deploy button that I'm very confident that this deployment with the CF tool will work. So what's going on here is also displayed. You can also set a so-called verbose mode to get even more informations about the things going on the Bluemix platform. And it's very straightforward what it's done. There is a container provided which contains the XSP runtime, which is in fact a Domino server. Therefore, I am waiting for the message that says, okay, I am configuring your container, your so-called droplet, which is about 250 megabytes, which is a very downgraded Domino environment. So meanwhile, this thing happens. Let's refresh the dashboard and let's see if the application is created. Whoops! I think it was already there. It was refreshed automatically. Great service. This is a great page. Well done. So here it is. It's not running. Of course, it's in the deploying process. I hope it will finish in the next minutes. Otherwise, I have to talk a lot more. I don't want to talk so many. This is very, very interesting what's happening here. So what you see is just a live deployment of a new XPages runtime of an application which is running on the brand new created XPages runtime, but accessing existing an existing database. I did not make any changes to the design just to show you the difference. Well, that's bad, but you can believe me, this is a completely independent instance from the existing application. I will show you the existing one. Meanwhile, this thing is uploading. This is the existing one. So it's called greets my Bluemix.net. This is a very boring and simple application that allows you to say just simply hello, hi there. Yeah, you can enter your name and the greeting you want to spread to the world. And yes, some celebs also commented here. So I am expecting this application to be to appear under the URL with that 2 in its name. Oh no, my browser is frozen. What the fuck? Sorry for that. Okay, I don't know what this is. This is Firefox, and there are some reasons I hate Firefox, and this is one of it. Reads to. I can't see the cursor. This is so stupid. Okay, no root found, of course. The application is not running, and this is the part I mentioned before. It's not about 250, but it's 290 megabytes. This is the so-called droplet, and this is the instance, the Domino XPages runtime instance, the stripped down instance with no other functionality, no mail, no nothing, just pure XPages. I think it's a pure application server behind it. It's not Domino. It is something different. I don't know. Maybe some of you guys who are developing on that this can light me up and tell me what's running under the hood there. Okay, one more. Waiting to start. Wait. By the way, this is also a part of my presentation of my session I will give on September 21st in London at the Icon UK user group event. So if you want to talk to me and with me about Bluemix, XPages, and of course other stuff, just say hello, buy me a beer, and we will become friends. So. Um, you see the summary of all the information. You see, okay, it's running. Woo, the state is running, even if my dashboard does not display that. But now it should be green after reloading. And here we are. So the URL should work now. And as you are used to, the first access to a new started server and a new XPages application on a server is sometimes a bit slow, but for the second time it's okay. And as you can see, this is the same data that is used in the original application, but it's not the original application. It's a totally different environment, but accessing the same server. You remember his name. His name is Slaney. So Slaney does all the work for us and hosts our data. This is great. So I could now have a orange version and the new version could be purple, I think, or something else. So you can read about it in a summary on my blog post, my first Bluemix XPages application. And in addition to this, I did another post where I show you how to use extensions on your applications, like the OpenNTF Domino API, or the Bootstrap for XPages plugin if you don't like the Bootstrap features of the extension library, or many more. And it's a great feature. It works. You see it works. You have a very straightforward workflow. Um, the process of accessing the database from the XPages design database is also in the blog post. Because I don't want to show you this one here, because I don't want to deep dive into my DAO bean I created. Of course, there are other options. Where is it? In the documentation, they show you how to access the database that contains your data, because you cannot use current database or whatever, or the database bean that is provided in the XPages runtime. You have to separate the data from the design, and therefore you have to modify your XPages to access the data from another database and not from the current one. So you can use this one, but I recommend you to have a look at my DAO bean, which is a bit more comfortable. And yes, I hope you got the idea of working with the current Domino Designer plugins, with the great command line interface from the Cloud Foundry tool. And yeah, thank you for your time and for watching, and bye bye.
And that's the demo. I thank Oliver for coming on. And I've got a couple more shows lined up to finish this series. And if you have any questions for me, here's my contact information. And I thank you for your time.